Michelle Kumar. The other American Indian. The other American Indian, Michelle Kumar.
What part of Brazil are you from? Brazil? The soccer-crazed country? The home of the greatest Pelé and Ronaldinho? Chelsea responded, OMG, you are from Brazil! Do you know Cristiano Ronaldo? He's so awesome! He's so skilled! He's such a good soccer player! You know, he has been awarded the Player of the Year so many times! I turned around to Chelsea. Soccer fan? Brazil? And turned to her again and said, what are we talking about? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, it's fascinating to me when people try guessing where I am from. But I have a confession to make. I am geographically challenged. It was easy to divert Chelsea's attention, so I quickly located a computer, Googled Brazil, and asked myself, where possibly in Brazil I could be from. Rio de Janeiro sounded really good. Rio is such a nice place this time of the year. Ipanema Beach is so lovely, and so are the soccer players. But I could not keep this up for long. Finally, when I told Chelsea that I was from Sacramento, California, she was very disappointed. But we're still friends. When I first got to this country, every time I would get in trouble, or I did something wrong, my easy way out was, I'm a foreigner! How am I supposed to know? This line worked for a very, very long time, but it doesn't work now. I wonder why. So you may have guessed, I'm not from Brazil, not from the US. I am an Indian who was born in Fiji. Now a naturalized US citizen. My kids, who are all born here, Sharina, Krishnil, and Ishar, have had similar experiences. My eldest one, Sharina, when she was 10, in 6th grade, she was doing a history project. And she asked me a simple question. Mom, we are Americans, aren't we? My response was, yeah. And then she asked, what percent of Indian blood do I have in me? Since we are in America, doesn't that make us American Indians? Wait a minute. Aren't there Spanish American Indians? I am Spanish because I sure look like one. Were you married before to somebody else? Was I adopted? It took a long time explaining to Sharina about my nationality and heritage. And then she said, oh, we are considered the other American Indians. I thought this ended right here, but it did not. My son, when he was 2 years old in daycare, is a pretty patient kid. But whenever somebody would be bugging him the first time, he'd let it go. The second time, he'll be saying, buddy, you're pushing it. And the third would be, I gave you 2 chances, you're going to get it now. So he would get in these little brawls at school, and every time I would go to pick him up, he'd be sitting in this timeout chair. One day, there were many incidents, but one day, he was sitting in the timeout chair. I walked up in the classroom and looked up at the teacher and said, what did you do today? The teacher looked very sadly to me and said, Miss Kumar, your son Krishnil cut a girl's hair. I was so excited, my son finally knew how to use the scissors. But I was concerned about the little girl. This is the explanation my son gave me. Mommy, I told that girl that everything and everybody is made in China, but she won't listen to me. See, my toys here at school and my toys at home, they all say they're made in China. She told me I was made in India, so I cut her hair. Mommy, could you please tell her that everything and everyone is made in China? After this incident, I had a lot to explain. He now understands that. I have a little one, she's only 7, Isha. I know I will be ready for her when she asks this question. Now you can take all of these misunderstandings about life, about your nationality and heritage, and as an insult, or you can laugh at them. Me, I choose to teach. I teach my children, wherever you are, learn to accept and acknowledge everyone graciously. It does not matter where you're from, be it Brazil, be it Mexico, China, India. Just learn to acknowledge everybody. I remember 20 years ago when I was very new to this country, and using my little excuse, my friend I was visiting, and she said something to me very seriously. She said, please, do not go over to our neighbor's house. Our neighbor does not like people with dark complexion. The echo of Dr. King's dream lingered in my mind, where he said, children will live in this nation, where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. So, it does not matter which country you are from, be it Brazil, China, India, Mexico, Spain, Portugal. The content of your character is what truly matters. As the great Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world. It starts with me. It does not matter where I'm from, but more so who I am and how I treat others. Mr. Toastmaster.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and the mother of the 2-year-old boy who already knew how to cut right to the main point, Michelle Kumar. You have a lot of great things going for you in your speaking ability. You have a good, clear voice, a lot of energy. You have a great personal story to tell, and a lot of good humor. I particularly like that little change of pace when you said that your child finally knew how to use a scissors. I thought that was a great line. There are a couple of things I want to talk about in your speaking. One is your use of the stage, and another is your use of the microphone in that. In the stage use, I thought you did some very interesting things at the beginning when you're going back and forth between two different people. You went from one person to another and you turned a little bit. How I think you could do that a little bit better, pause a little bit between one character and another, and delineate between their voices a little bit better. Because there was sometimes you were turning back and forth and you turned to the middle, and I was a little bit confused about which character you were doing. So you could do a little bit better there. And also I'm thinking about your selection of a handheld mic instead of a headset mic. The problem there is you had this great gesture, and when you brought your hands out like this, the microphone was way away from your mouth, and I couldn't hear what you were saying. So the advantage of a mic like this is right in front of your mouth is you can turn anywhere you want. You can walk all over, and it's right in front of your mouth. You don't have to worry about that. You also have both hands free to make your gestures. Now, when you're talking about general ideas, I think you can use the middle of the stage well, but when you're moving from one story to another, I would recommend choosing a different part of the stage to separate that. When you're talking about your child in school, do it all from over here. And when you're talking about something else, another aspect of your speech, you can do it from here. What I saw you doing a bit was moving around the stage, but it was a little bit of pacing, like a tiger. And there's energy there, but it's not moving with purpose, and that will help enhance your speech a little bit. Now, as far as the structure, you did follow up at the end, I think, with a good solution which tied into your title, and your summary cited the title in the middle of the speech, The Other American Indian. But at the end, it didn't quite tie in as tightly as I would like. It tied in a little bit that it doesn't matter who you are, it's what you do. But if you would videotape yourself giving a speech, and then watch it, not the next day, but 6 months later, I think that that would help you look at it from a more objective perspective, and in that way you'll understand maybe how to tighten up that connection from the beginning to the end a little bit better. So in summary, you did a great job with your energy. I would just say use the headset mic instead of the handheld mic, that will help you there. Use the stage with purpose and a little bit tighter structure, and you'll soon get cut above the rest.
Sherry Parker.
The Other American Indian packed a pow, a wow, and a namaste. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow District 33 stars, and most especially Michelle. Michelle came to the stage and took her time to really own this area before she began to speak. I was very impressed with your presence. Michelle was warm and friendly. I especially liked how you used personal stories with conversations. The stories were very memorable and will certainly stick with me. I really enjoyed the well-crafted organization of the speech. It flowed very powerfully from the beginning to the end, and ended with a very powerful and universal message. I do have several recommendations that might move the speech to an even more remarkable level. First of all, let's address the tiger in the room. There was a lot of movement going on here. And although it was great that you could see both sides of the hall, I never really felt like you were reaching to the back of the hall. And because the movement wasn't purposeful, you missed an opportunity to block different locations for each of the sections of your speech. The conversations were wonderful. But it would have helped me personally to have seen Michelle do the conversation with Celeste here, and perhaps the conversation with your daughter here, and the conversation with your son in a different location. And then at the end, come back to the center of the stage to make your powerful conclusion. One other thing I noticed about the pacing is that it prevented you from having a lot of direct contact with us. It almost felt as if you were facing to the side rather than forwards. I would love to see your beautiful smile and your eyes directed at me personally. In regards to the conversations, I was delighted to hear that there were conversations, but Michelle might have done a couple of things to make them even more clear. And one is change the location of the speakers. And because you had two children, you don't even have to move from side to side. You could actually place the children down, and when they speak to you up. And the other thing you might do is actually add the name at the beginning of each of the conversation threads so we know who's talking. This speech is already quite remarkable, but to move it to the next level, if you take your existing skills of warmth, friendliness, power, and conversation included within nice, sticky personal stories and combine that with purposeful movement and blocking and conversation that is easy for us to follow, I'm sure that you will shine brightly in the galaxy of stars.
Patrick Hardy. When professional golfer Vijay Singh won what would be the equivalent of the World Series of Golf, an ESPN reporter walked up to him with a big microphone and said, "Being an Indian from Fiji, how did you do it?" And he said, "Just like any other golfer, one shot at a time." Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Michelle, because when I heard your speech today, that's exactly what I thought about. Because being from the same type of nationality, he faced the same types of issues that you did. And in fact, his story is very similar, because when he first joined the PGA, they called him the Indian golfer. But he changed that around, and he was determined. And in that very moment of talking to that ESPN reporter, he changed the dialogue from being the Indian golfer to being just a golfer. And that's how I felt like the most powerful part of your speech was the fact that you changed the dialogue around for all of us. You gave us various tools and things that you used to change that dialogue around. The first words, of course, your stories. I think those are terrific because, in fact, the immigrant tale is one in which many Americans know very well. But you turned it into something that was light and almost seamless. Something that actually doesn't have to be taken so seriously. And in fact, it's something in which we can relish in as Americans. And in fact, that's the same kind of thing that Vijay did, because when he was winning tournaments, they said he was the Indian golfer. But until he really began to initialize into that what was predominantly a white world of golf, he changed things entirely. But I think the other thing he did very well was humor. And in fact, the stories and the humor were almost dialectically working. Because by doing so, it said, not only do all of us, who may not have the same experiences that you do, we can actually respect and actually consider it something kind of light that we can respect, and it actually broke up, and that rapport that you set up with the audience was something that made the speech truly special. But I think that narrative stream, there are sometimes things that we can work on. And in fact, there are a couple of things I think that if we were in golf, I would have to say, or, and the first was this. I sat in the very back. Much like one of those long par fives, I sat in the very back because I wanted to challenge you as speaker. And sometimes I felt the movement wasn't quite there. I felt there was a lot of movement in the back and some here, but I couldn't see it fully. It was that physical presence in this large room that inevitably means a lot. And I think also the fact that the mic was held a little bit too close detracted a little bit from what you were trying to tell me. But overall, I don't want that to take away from the fact that you played a great golf game today, so to speak. I think if Vijay were here today, I think if he were to ask you and ask your family, how is it that you were able to overcome all these different issues? How is it that you were able to give a terrific speech? Your answer would probably be one word at a time. Mr. Hunt.
Brazil, where you from? What an excellent beginning, because it made me think right away, uh-oh, this is going to be a different speech. And the whole point of Michelle's speech was to show us the heartbreak of misperceptions. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Michelle, made me think how not to assume what we think we know about other people. Excellent beginning about with posing a question to us and making us think and blowing apart stereotypes. What Michelle did was not only have an excellent beginning, which I felt brought the audience in, but then she full-bodied it by explaining her life's experiences, her relatives' experiences, even her son's. But Mommy, Isn't everyone and all things made in China? Even he had misperceptions. Love the way that she evened the playing field. And then she ended it with a stunning conclusion, a quote I think most of us have heard of. To judge a person not by the color of their skin, but by their character. So all things we are to remember. The body of the speech, that's the first thing I noticed I was very impressed with. The second thing was vocal variety. I could tell the difference when Michelle spoke as herself, when she spoke as her friend Chelsea, even as her little son, and the heartbreak of when she said, "Oh, you're the other kid." I felt the sorrow in her heart because I have been there myself. My name may be Jones and I may look white, but as a half Lebanese person, there are people who look at me and say, "You look different." And it's as if I don't want them to know. But with Michelle, it's pretty obvious. So it's a double battle I feel she has to fight. Michelle, there are some things that I think would make your speech more powerful. The first thing is the pacing. Because this makes me think that you're rehearsing this in your head. And you want, I feel, you want me to know as an audience member, you got it down. Look at us in the eye. And that segues to the second thing, eye contact. You have a universal message that bring us in with your eyes. Your beautiful eyes, by the way. So bring us all in. Look at us. Connect with each section of the room and hold it there. The third thing is you introduced Chelsea in the beginning, but I didn't know who she was. Mention right away she's your friend. Overall, it's an excellent speech because it made me think. It even busted my own misperceptions. Mr. Toastmaster.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests. I have 3 areas of observation that I would leave as takeaways for you today that regard Michelle's speech. What are these 3 things? Number 1, legacy. Number 2, content. Number 3, delivery. Let's get started. What do I mean by legacy? Legacy is the gift that the speaker gives to the audience. This is the takeaway from the speech. Michelle, the other Indian, what was the gift that you left us? My takeaway was learn to accept and acknowledge each other gracefully. How did you give us that gift, that message? You told us a story. You told us a personal story of how this message really made an impact on your life. You encountered many individuals who didn't understand where you came from. You wondered, how could that happen in this country of America? How could they confuse you for someone who lived in Brazil? What I would have liked to have seen in this is to repeat that gift to the audience. As your friend from Brazil, or the friend that thought you were from Brazil made that comment, took into your mind and spoke out. Learn to accept and acknowledge each other gracefully. It showed up again with your children. Mom, why isn't everybody made from China? Your son cut that person's hair off because of that comment. How frustrating that would be for a mother. Again, learn to accept and acknowledge each other gracefully. Your delivery of this speech was phenomenal. You used characters. How did we know you were within a different character? You changed voices. Your voice imparted not just the individual, but really brought out the personality of a child in your speech. Your facial expressions underscored the emotion that you were feeling in the speech. You did have some bit of nervousness, as can be understandable up here on the stage. You showed that to us through pacing. What I would advise is rather than pacing back and forth, you walk across the stage, breathe. You remember that gift that you're giving to the audience. Learn to accept and acknowledge each other gracefully. Then move to make your next. The summary of your speech indeed left us with a message. You brought in some heavy hitters, Martin Luther King and Gandhi, to underscore your points. But truthfully, I felt the message of the speech itself was strong enough that you didn't necessarily need to bring in those heavyweights. You could have summarized again with learn to accept and acknowledge each other gracefully.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests, welcome. I'd like to begin by thanking Michelle for her informative speech. I found it to be both educational and interesting. And as I give you feedback on this speech, Michelle, I'm going to talk about your delivery and your material. And I think I have a few ideas that you'll find helpful. First of all, with respect to the delivery, you're standing up here and being on stage, you have a great presence, and you handled yourself very well today. It was terrific. However, the mic proved to be a little bit problematic for you. The thing about the mic is when you hold it close to your mouth and you adjust it, the guys over here on the left are adjusting that so the audience can hear. I recognized that as a potential problem when they were giving us the briefing, hence I went with the lectern so that the microphone would be equidistant while I spoke the entire time, instead of trying to do it for me. So on the delivery, the microphone was a bit of a problem. But one thing I did like about delivery was that your delivery did not overshadow your material. Oftentimes in our Toastmaster speeches, we see a lot of showmanship and theatrics. And that didn't happen today. Now, while I see some upside potential in that particular arena for you, I viewed that as a real positive. Moving on to the material. With respect to the message, I was a little confused about what your message to us was. Your speech flowed from story to story, idea to idea. There was no problem there. However, it wasn't until I got to the very end that I got a sense that the purpose of your speech was how to treat others. Your message was how to treat others. So I would suggest that you change the title of your speech to something like How to Treat Others, and then make a few adjustments to it. For instance, I felt you spent a little bit too much time on geography. That, by the way, is right out of this morning's educational. So Ed, I just want you to know I listened. And then make some changes to it. Instead of spending so much time talking about geography, just tell us right up front you're from Fiji. And then tell us about the impact moving from Fiji to the United States had on you, and intermix some of your personal life's experiences into the story. I felt the substance of a good speech was there. However, I think it needed to be reorganized. Overall, I thought your delivery today was well done, except for some problems with the microphone. We talked about that. And the fact, the real positive, that your speech did not overshadow the content of your speech. And I think with respect to the material, just reorganize it somewhat, and you'll do very well in the future. Thank you very much for a great speech, and I look forward to hearing you speak in the future.
Master Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, dignitaries, and all veterans, and especially you, Michelle. Without you, we had no contest. But I knew you were going to be special. Anyone who's brave enough to bring a warm-up speaker of a world champion to prepare us for you had to be great. And you didn't disappoint me in the slightest. I loved your speech, There were so many vital and vibrant parts to it. Your voice, great pitch. It's like reading the Toastmasters manual, the way you delivered it all. Your enthusiasm, your humour, and your strong message. They all got to me. I especially loved Little Sharika. Oh, the other American Indian. You brought that home to us. But as you know, I'm supposed to be here to give an evaluation. And you're probably sick of all the comments you've already had. But if I could, give two more gentle ones. I noticed that, like most of us, you have shotgun eye contact. You throw a bit here, a bit there, and we all get a little splatter. And most of the good books say, look to the left, look to the right, look to the middle, look to the left, look, and you end up like R2D and nobody knows what you're doing. I was fortunate enough, a wise Toastmasters once taught me, Colin, pause. Look around the audience until you find a friendly face. Deliver a sentence to them. Look around till you find another friendly face. And talk to them. And not only will it control the jerky, you'll actually get to meet some friendly people. The other slight comment for your consideration. I felt that you didn't bring us any visual aids or gestures. For example, when you talked about your daughter, you could have said, I was so mad I cut her hair off. Or even when you got to that poignant point of saying, it does not matter what nationality or country you're from. That would drive that point home strongly for us. Those are two tiny little suggestions for your consideration. I would love you to consider them. Give this speech again. And I honestly believe that you'll be a shoo-in for the international competition.
What part of Fresno are you from? We're all from the same place. We're all one. This is the message I'm taking home. Thanks to Michelle Kumar, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and to anyone who's ever wondered, where am I from? Michelle, I liked your captivating and entertaining speech. I love your confidence. You notice how she, as a speaker, she was in charge, and she took charge. If you're confident and comfortable, as an audience member, I'm comfortable listening. Dialogue. Great use of dialogue. A good storyteller will incorporate dialogue. She didn't tell me, she took me. To a conversation she had with someone about, where are you from? What part of Brazil are you from? Later, with the dialogue, great job, I don't know your child, I feel as though I do. Because you simulated your child's voice as that person was talking to you. Great use of dialogue. How about the humor? You incorporated great humor throughout your speech. It wasn't forced. If I'm laughing, I guarantee I'm listening. An advanced technique. He's a great speaker because no notes. It takes courage not to use notes. Oftentimes we'll break the connection. Great job not using notes. Suggestions. How do we take this speech to perhaps an even higher level? I would suggest blocking the stage. Use the stage. Conversation. What part of Brazil are you from? Start here. Later, while in America, I realized we're all one. Today, I teach oneness. Another suggestion would be, I like the eye contact. You might consider holding it a little bit longer. You connect well with the audience through eye contact. If you can hold it, move on, connect with someone right in the eye, hold. Connect with someone else, hold. One other suggestion would be pacing, random pacing. You reminded me of me 2 days ago at the bank. I walk in, no one's there, but they have these ropes, and I'm doing this. My suggestion would be only move on purpose. So to recap, I would suggest better blocking, hold the eye contact, minimize the pacing. Keep doing what you're already doing extremely well. Confidence, dialogue, humor, no notes. As a speaker in this galaxy, Michelle Kumar, you are shining bright as a star. Mr. Toastmaster.
Let's give our contestants another hand, and every one of them in the room. Third, Anne Henneberry. Second place, Colin McKenzie. First place for the District 33 evaluation contest is